What if Joe Kessler, one of the most dangerous characters on The Boys, wasn't actually real? This season has thrown us some wild twists, but here's one that just might blow your mind. Joe Kessler, the seemingly ruthless character we've seen Butcher interact with, might not exist at all. What if Joe is just a figment of Butcher's imagination, another haunting hallucination like Becca? In this video, we're gonna break down the clues, analyze the scenes, and uncover the truth behind Joe Kessler's existence. Hey guys, I'm Shalon. Welcome to the Binge Zone. Hit that subscribe button, and in this video, we're gonna dive deep into the subconscious of Billy Butcher. But before we get into that, just who is Joe Kessler? Joe Kessler is one of the new characters that were introduced in season 4 of The Boys, and he's based on a character from the comics called Howard Kessler, aka Monkey. Both characters share the similarities of being CIA case analysts, but that's pretty much where the similarities end, because in The Boys season 4, Joe Kessler and Billy Butcher come off as friends. They even talk about past missions that they've done together, even though those missions were Easter eggs to storylines in the comic books. But in the comics, they're not really friends. More so, Butcher is using Kessler for information. But in the show, it looks like Kessler is the one using Billy Butcher to try to get to Homelander before Butcher dies. But the most interesting thing about all of this is that Butcher only talks to Kessler one-on-one. And that reminds us of when he was hallucinating with Becca throughout this season as well. Since the first episode of season 4, Butcher has been hallucinating Becca throughout the season. And in those hallucinations, Becca is pushing him to do whatever he needs to do to save Ryan, to get Ryan away from Homelander before he dies. Because we know as of last season, because of all the compound V that Billy Butcher has taken, he has developed a tumor and he is dying. That brain tumor is also affecting his perception of reality. So he's talking to his dead wife Becca this season, but he wasn't talking to her last season before he started taking the compound V. Even when we're first introduced to Joe Kessler, no one is around. MM is speaking with Mallory and Singer in another room, and that's when Kessler approaches Butcher. Then they leave and go talk one-on-one, and they start to talk about their past missions and how Butcher saved him. But what if Butcher never saved him? So we know that is affecting his brain, and we know Becca is pushing him to some extreme actions in order to save Ryan by any means necessary. Those hallucinations make him act more brash, more violent, because he's pressed for time and he's willing to do almost anything to get Ryan away from Homelander. Now on the flip side, Joe is telling him to destroy Homelander by any means necessary and to use Ryan against Homelander. So instead of protecting Ryan like Becca wants to, Joe wants him to use Ryan or kill Homelander, one of the two before he expires. We can look at both of these hallucinations as the devil and the angel on each shoulder. And the fact that it's Billy Butcher, both of them are fucked up. So Rebecca is save Ryan, Joe is destroy Homelander by any means necessary, even using Ryan. One has good intentions, one has bad intentions, but both their methods are bad because it is Billy Butcher. What really reinforces this theory is the fact that not only do we never see Joe talking to anybody else, in the final scene of episode 5, when they have Samir tied up and Butcher is talking to Samir, Samir is only acknowledging Butcher. He is not acknowledging Joe, who is supposedly there. Even though Butcher is also talking to Joe, referring to themselves as we, and even looking at where Joe is supposed to be, Samir looks in that direction and looks back at Butcher confused. Because in his perspective, he doesn't see anyone else. He only sees Butcher. But the real question is why? Why is he hallucinating Joe? And for that, all we have to do is look at why he's hallucinating Becca. He feels guilt for what happened to Becca and Ryan. And if Butcher expires before he can get Ryan away from Homelander, he would have failed Becca. She would have died for nothing. He also would have died for nothing. So we have that guilt associated with him, and we know he has a time limit. He has 6 months to get this done. On the same vein, we know from his conversations with Joe, they have a past together, they went on missions together, and Joe was his CIA contact on the inside. With Butcher being who he is, we know there's a lot of casualty in his wake. So what if Butcher actually was the reason why Joe died? On a mission together, he let Joe die to continue and save the mission, because that's something Butcher would do. This season has been showing us Butcher having blackouts and just forgetting bits of information. And even in past seasons, we see Butcher's head kind of go in and out of missions. So what if Butcher never actually saved him, and that's the guilt? Deep down in his subconscious, he knows he never saved Kessler. And that is why he's hallucinating Kessler. That is why no one else is talking about Kessler. That is why Kessler did not name his son after him, because you never saved him, Butcher. And that guilt is eating him inside. Butcher, for the most part, prioritizes the mission over everything else. So what if he let Joe die? This is his way of continuing the mission for Joe, so Joe doesn't die in vain. The same way he's doing for Becca. He feels great guilt for both of these deaths, because we know Butcher doesn't feel immense guilt for his father nor his brother, because he felt that he had to do what he had to do. But in this scenario, what if he kind of feels as though he sacrificed Becca, he sacrificed Joe for his greater mission, and now he's about to expire without completing the mission, therefore causing Becca to die in vain, the woman he loved, and causing Joe to also die in vain, who may have been his best friend before Mother's Milk. Which is why we see Butcher approach the situation with MM differently, which is why he tries to open up more and tries to have a different level of relationshiping so he doesn't end up like Joe Kessler. But guys, that's just my thoughts on it. I don't think he's real. Do you think Joe Kessler is real? Let me know in the comment section below, guys. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, binge on.